Good morning, Netroots. My name is Tia Oso. Today is my last day as the Arizona organizer for the Black Alliance for Just Immigration. We are a national organization that engages African Americans with a progressive analysis on racial justice and migrant rights in order to work with immigrants of color from Africa, the Caribbean, and other countries in order to advance a social and economic justice agenda to build a multiracial democracy. I want to welcome you to Arizona. Thank you so much. So Netroots Nation being in Arizona is significant for several reasons, right? Arizona is indigenous land. We're called as Phoenix, Arizona, but really the border was drawn right by white supremacist manifest destiny. And without the innovations, right, of the indigenous people, right, building the canals, this would be an uninhabitable desert, correct? I just want to give a little bit of context about what we're here to do today. On Monday, that was the July 13th, it's the 2-year anniversary of the Black Lives Matter, creation of Black Lives Matter hashtag, right? Political project. That has moved right from an online political project to an on-the-ground social justice initiative that has reignited the fight for racial justice across the globe, right? And Black struggles across the globe. And also the 1-year anniversary marking the death of, Eric Garner. And also, Sandra Bland died in police custody in Texas. So right now, here today, we want to take a moment at Netroots to acknowledge the lives lost every 28 hours, but specifically the Black women's lives that are lost every 28 hours. Okay, Black woman and her child. Because we think it's important, and we demand, just as I demanded from them several times, and then decided to go ahead and create, right, a local-focused, Black-focused space to connect local Black community organizers with organizers who are here from around the country for Netroots, right? Because that's something that we had to do, right? But we should not have had to do, right? Black Roots. Hashtag Black Roots, okay? Because when they announced they wanted to come to Arizona and talk about immigration, I wondered, are you going to talk about the 25% of Black immigrants in Arizona who are here as asylees and refugees because of U.S. foreign policy? Are you going to talk about? When you go on your border tour, are you going to talk about the individuals that come from Cameroon, Somalia, and Jamaica, and Central America? Are you going to talk about the Garifuna? Are you going to talk about the Afro-Latinos? Are you going to talk about the Afro-Mexicans that are being caught at the border? But I knew that you would not. Welcome to Arizona, where Monica Jones, a Black trans woman, cannot walk down the street. Today cannot walk down the street. Okay? Welcome to Arizona, where the Martin Luther King holiday was repealed by a Republican governor. And you have to take initiative to put a ballot referendum, right? To ensure that you will honor the legacy of Black people. If we're going to call this a progressive space, we must always and unapologetically and unequivocally center Black leadership that has made every single day of progress in this country. So we're going to host this space. We are going to acknowledge the names of Black women that have died in police custody, and then nevertheless, we do have questions for you about what your to ensure that Black lives do matter. And that as the leader of this nation, will you advance a racial justice agenda that will dismantle, not reform, okay, not make progress, but that will begin to dismantle structural racism in the United States? So we're going to do the action, we're going to do the Black women.
deportation! No deportation!
Hold on, everybody. Wait. Everybody take a little breathe. Right, breathe. One question. Patrice. One question, man. You want to get one? Patrice, go ahead. Where's the mic? You want to give me? Can you give it to her, please? Thank you. It's Patrice, one of the co-founders of Black Lives Matter. Please.
Okay, so first of all, it's not like we like shutting shit down. It's not like we like shutting shit down, but we have to. We are tired of being interrupted. The governor is going to be able to speak. We know that he's been here. We also know that Senator Bernie Sanders is back there. We appreciate you listening to us and the audience holding space for us. But let me be clear. Every single day, folks are dying. Not being able to take another breath. We are in a state of emergency. We are in a state of emergency. And if don't feel that emergency. You are not human. Yes, we have more questions. The question we have, and I'll just mix all my questions in one if that's what you want to do. It really boils down to the fight for Black and brown lives. It really boils down to not what you have done, but what you will do. What will you do to stop police unions battering our names after their wrong I want to hear concrete actions. I want to hear an action plan. That's what we want to hear. And we want to hear from Bernie Sanders too.
As a member of the board of Netroots Nation, I thank you for your voices. I thank you for your courage. I thank you for your commitment. I'm not silencing you. I wanted to make sure that the governor, you came here to get a response. Let's hear the governor's response.
So let me say a couple things. First of all, I think that all of us as Americans have a responsibility to recognize the pain and the grief throughout our country from all of the lives that have been lost to violence, whether that's violence at the hands of police, whether that's violence in the hands of civilians. For many years, we have sure. Well, I'll just share with you, I'm trying to respond to the call of your question as best I can. No, hey, look. I know.
What just happened there? Guys, hold on a second. I really want to hear specific responses. Back to the point. Not generalities, right? But go ahead. Wait. Go ahead. Guys, I want an actual conversation to happen. Please, let's do this. Go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
Specifically, I believe every police department in America should have to report in an open and transparent and timely way all police-involved shootings, all discourtesy complaints, and all brutality complaints.
What about
that
civilian review boards? How about civilian review boards? What do you think of that?
I believe that all departments should have civilian review boards. We implemented one, and it works, but they have to be staffed, and it's not enough just to have a board. You have to give them the money to hire their own detectives so they can investigate whatever they want to investigate.
What? Will you do that?
Yes, look, I'm going to be rolling out a criminal justice reform package as a candidate for president. And as I do so, I want everyone in this room to ask all of the other candidates for their response.
Hold on.
Some of the most important things that we accomplish in life, requires persistence. We did not repeal the death penalty in Maryland the first time we tried, or the second time. We repealed it the third time we tried. Every life matters. And that is why this issue is so important. Black lives matter. White lives matter. All lives matter. Black lives matter. White lives matter. All lives matter.
really important. I really love that we're holding the governor accountable here, but what's even more imperative is we hold all of the presidential candidates accountable to these specific proposals. We will do that. Yes. Okay. Unfortunately, Senator Sanders is waiting out there. We have to ask Senator Sanders the exact same questions. So let's get going. Thank you for having me. Thank you for being here.
Thank you all very much.
Black Lives Matter. Yes. Senator Sanders, are you ready to come out?
So, yeah, he was chanting Black Lives Matter on the way out, but kind of looked like he was forced to do so. That didn't go well for him. So next up is Bernie Sanders. And there's a little delay. Not surprising. I'm periscoping. So, yeah. Just a little long pause. He's got to get his game face on, I presume. Okay, here we go.
I would really, did you hear from the back what was happening here? I would love for you to actually talk about this in specifics, not the usual politics.
So let me talk about what I want to talk about for a moment. Everybody sit as you all down. Thank you very much for inviting me.
We love you!
We've got some serious things to talk about. We don't have a whole lot of time, so what I'd like to do is just chat for a while, stop, and we're going to do a little bit of discussion.
Please go ahead.
Here's the serious issue. We live in a nation in which, to a significant degree, media is controlled by large multinational corporations. We live in a nation in which 95% of talk radio is right-wing, including in areas where Republicans have almost no support. We live in a nation in which conservative Republicans own their own television network. And that is why the work that many of you do in terms of blogging and on the internet is extraordinarily important, because you are presenting an analysis of what goes on in America and a vision of where we should go that corporate media does not present. And I thank you very much for that. The other point that I want to make is some of you have come here to say, wow, we are courageous and we're really on the fringe and we're leading all this stuff. I want to give you some bad news and some good news. The good news is that what most of us believe is exactly what the vast majority of the American people believe. Some of us, for years, have fought to raise the minimum wage. Some of us believe it should go to $15 an hour. And you know what? Wall Street Journal poll.
One second.
I will answer your question, but I'd like to speak for a few minutes. I was told to step out.
A couple more minutes, and then we're going to get...
I was told...
Yeah. Watch me. A little shorter than that, sir. A little shorter than that. But go ahead. And then we're going to get some specific questions.
And the issue is... The issue is that it is...
Yeah, hold on one second. Hold on.
It's okay. Listen, I don't have... Black lives, of course, matter. And I spent 50 years of my life fighting for civil rights and for dignity. And if you don't want me to be here, that's okay.
No, so we want you to be here and address that.
I don't want to outscream.
No. We're not, wait.
All right, the issue that we're talking about is that we live in a nation which has more wealth and income inequality than any major nation on earth, and worse than since 1928. And maybe it's time we did something about it. We are living in a nation in which the top 1/10 of 1% owns almost as much wealth as the bottom 90%. Maybe we did something about that. Maybe it is time to have a government which represents ordinary Americans and not just powerful and wealthy campaign contributors. And maybe that is why it is time to overturn Citizens United and move the public funding of the land. I have not made any promises during this campaign, but here's one I will repeat to you, that any nominee I make to the Supreme Court will have to pass a litmus test, and that litmus test is overturn Citizens United, restore democracy to America. When we talk about issues like Black Lives Matter, let me tell you something. A study just came out a few weeks ago talking about youth unemployment in America, an issue we do not deal with as a nation. And here's what that report said. What that report said is that if you are a high school graduate and you're white, the unemployment rate is 33%. If you are Hispanic, the unemployment rate is 36%. If you are African American, the unemployment rate is 51%. And in my view, maybe, just maybe, it is time to invest in jobs and education, not in jails and incarceration. The only way, in my view, that we are going to transform America is to develop a strong, grassroots movement, which I call a political revolution. In other words, we do not win and transform America when 63% of the American people don't vote. We don't transform America when 80% of the American people, young people, don't vote. So let me conclude my remarks by just saying this. I am probably the only presidential candidate who will tell you that no president, not Bernie Sanders, not anybody else, will be able to achieve what has to be done unless there is a political revolution. We need a mass movement of the American people to say very clearly that enough is enough. This government, this country belongs to all of us and not a handful of billionaires. Thank you very much.
Okay.
portion.
I want Bernie Sanders to say my name. 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 White man. Say her plan. Say her name. Say her name. Oh, sorry. Say her plan. Say her name. Say her plan. Say her name. Say her plan. Say her name.
Excuse me. I want to be able to ask you some questions. Okay, so I want to get to this point. I heard somebody say
Sandra
the black
Bland.
people are dying in this country because of white supremacy. What do you say to that?
Black people are dying in this country because of a unjust criminal justice. Okay. I don't.
Wait a second. Go ahead. Continue, sir.
Black people are dying in this country because we have a criminal justice system which is out of control. Because we have a system in which, as I just mentioned, over 50% of young African American kids are unemployed or out in the streets. And where we have right now, it is estimated that a black male baby born today stands a 1 in 4 chance ending up in the criminal justice system. So what we need to do...
I'm about to get to that.
I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to transform economics in America so that we create millions of decent paying jobs. We're going to make public colleges and universities tuition free. We're going to raise the minimum wage to a living wage. We're going to transform our trade policy so corporate America invests in this country and not low-income countries around the world. That's some of what we're going to do.
So let me unpack that even more, because you talk a lot about. Wait a second. You talk a lot about economic inequality, right?
I do.
But hearing what's happening here, clearly in this country, we have not fully confronted the racist systems and institutions, right? That coupled with economic inequality is getting us to the place that we're at. How do we do that better? How do we talk about this in such a way?
Well, it's not a question of talking about it, it's a question of doing it.
Well, yes, but what specific proposals?
Specific proposals in terms of... Well, specific proposals are, for a start, you create an economy where people have decent jobs at decent wages. And that's why we are talking about a $1 trillion program to create 13 million jobs, rebuilding our crumbling infrastructure. That's number one. Number two, when you talk about the criminal justice system, we need fundamental reform in police departments all over this country. I was the mayor of the city of Burlington. And what we moved toward was community policing, where police officers are part of the community and not seen as an oppressive force. And we've got to do that as well.
So I read about, you said that you've been fighting for civil rights, you were there in the March to Washington. Can you point to any legislation in the past 10 years that you've supported that have benefited the African American community and communities of color in this country?
Many.
Can you name a couple?
Well, yeah. We built in the Affordable Care Act, which is providing health insurance to many millions of Americans. We got a provision in there, a $12 billion provision, which expanded community health centers all over America, hundreds of new community health centers, most of them, or many of them, in low-income and minority communities. That means that millions of people who otherwise would not have been able to access health care are now getting health care, dental care, mental health counseling, and low-cost prescription drugs. That's pretty good.
Let me pivot a little bit to immigration. There's a headline on CNN a couple of weeks ago that said, headline, where Bernie Sanders disappoint. It's on immigration. And the article talked about the fact that you voted against a bipartisan immigration bill sponsored by McCain and Kennedy in 2007, and for an immigration bill in 2013, but expressed concerns about it even though you ultimately supported it. So here's my question, right? You said you were worried about protecting jobs, with labor unions being a major part of your base. How do you reconcile being pro-labor and being pro-immigration?
Easy. I voted against, when you talk about immigration, I want to ask you a question. Why is it the Chamber of Commerce and all of the big money organizations love the immigration bill? You think they're staying up nights worrying about undocumented workers in this country? Why? You tell me. You know why?
I'm not running for president, but go ahead.
I will tell you why. I will tell you why.
Okay.
Because this bill has two major components. Number one, the good thing it has. It says that we're going to take 11 million people out of the shadows and give them dignity and give them a path to citizenship.
Yes,
that's the good part.
That's the good part, yes.
And that's what I strongly support. You know what the not so good part is? That at a time when we have millions of kids in this country who can't find a job, what the Chamber of Commerce, the big money interests want, is to be able to bring into this country, on guest worker programs, low-wage workers who will be competing against kids in this country who desperately need jobs. They're going to bring H-1B professional workers into this country to lower wages for our high-tech workers. Frankly, I don't think that's a good idea. The reason I voted for the last bill is I got language in for $1.5 billion to create many, many jobs for kids in this country. And that was important to me. So, to my view, is of course we need a path towards citizenship for undocumented workers. Of course we should not be dividing up families. Of course I support the DREAM Act. But I do worry that corporate America and the big money interests, of course, want to bring cheap labor into this country in guest worker programs and continue the race to the bottom, something which is devastating to this country and forcing millions of people in this country to work longer hours for lower wages.
Well, but looking at that 2013 immigration bill, there's no such thing as a perfect legislation. But for me, looking at that, you're looking at it, you're going, do we want to spend any more billions of dollars securing a border that will never really be secure? Like we have spent in this country since...
Is your point I should not have voted for the bill?
My point is, as president, when you hear Congress talk about we need to secure the border, we have spent $100 billion since 9/11 securing the border.
Yeah.
What would you say to that?
Well, my answer is that to get, in fact, I didn't help write this bill.
Yeah.
I voted for it.
You vote, yes, I understand.
But the people who ended up putting together a bipartisan bill, including working with some conservative Republicans, that was their insistence. Okay, not my insistence, that was their insistence. And we wanted a bill, and by the way, what is one of the fault lines of that bill is it ties the path to citizenship with the border. And I think that does not make a whole lot of sense. But that is the bipartisan bill that was passed.
In retrospect, would you have supported it?
I did support it.
No, would you support it again? And knowing what we know now, talking about border security and all of that, would you have supported it?
Yeah, I think you got 11 million people in this country who are living in the shadows, who are fearful legitimately of being deported, of families being broken up. This is not a particularly good bill. But I think that issue is so important that we give some legal protection to 11 million people who are living in enormous anxiety. Yeah,
We do not want some. We want all protection for our families, for all people crossing
that's
the border.
fine. We may want in this room what we want, but you got a United States Congress, which gets back to my first point. If you want a Congress that begins to address the needs of the American people, we got a lot of work to do. This Congress does not do that.
Senator Sanders, do you support, if you were elected president, you're looking at Congress is doing nothing on immigration, President Obama's executive actions are stuck in the courts. Would you take executive action as well?
Absolutely. No, I support what the president has done and probably would go for it. But
My mom is not a criminal.
executive actions are not legislation. And the answer is that you have a Congress right now, and I hope everybody understands it, that you have a Republican Party completely owned by big money interests, and too many Democrats are sympathetic to corporate interests. That's the reality. And nothing is going to change until you change that, which is what a political revolution is.
So this is tied to economic equality, college, and college costs.